Hello, friends. This is your humble narrator and host, Tony Figueroa, coming to you with a new video. I just want to talk a little bit about some stuff I've done recently and talk a little bit about future plans and maybe a little bit philosophical. So, to start with, Steve Rude on his Instagram, he's the co creator of Nexus and just a fantastic all around artist. Probably one of the best the medium has seen in terms of his versatility and different mediums he works with and his figure work and his, well, just everything. He's really is a total package. If you're not familiar with his work, I certainly urge you to check out either Nexus or a DC project he did with Dave Gibbons called World's Finest. It's just really beautiful work. At any rate, the character he's best known for is his co-creation Nexus with Mike Baron, and on his Instagram, Steve Rude, or whoever runs his social media, has been posting fan art. So I figured I would throw my hat in the ring and see what happened. And just to give you a little bit of process here, this is 11 by 17 copy paper. It's the same size as original artboard. I do all my penciling on here, all my erasures. It's a pretty good paper. It stands up to a lot of abuse, but I wouldn't recommend inking on it. Here I basically have the idea of the figure down, the pose. I wanted to have his name incorporated in there because he's not as well known as Batman or Superman, who you can kind of just tell who they are at a glance. So once I felt I had everything down that I needed here, the next step would be to go into inking and coloring. Nexus has always been depicted with sort of a male dancer type of physique, sort of a slimmed down tone physique, and that's what I tried to capture here. So going on to the finished version, and this is the finished version, as you can see here, inked and colored. The letters done with his logo. And then just for A-B comparison purposes, you can see I've got the layout next to it, and quite a lot happens between the pencil layout stage and the finished product. It was used. They posted it. I really do appreciate that. It was pretty nice. I enjoyed doing the piece. I think it's the first time I've ever done a piece for something like that, so I was a little bit nervous about it. But, overall it was a pretty decent experience. So I decided to try my hand at another one about a week or so later, and just bear with me here. And the second piece was going to be a little more complicated. This is Nexus again, keeping that same slim male dancer build. And here he's battling a winged creature, kind of a demon type of thing. So again, 11 by 17 copy paper. As you can see some of the underdrawing there. Form is extremely important, more so than detail, and I've been studying from those famous artist binder books. I highly recommend them for learning how to draw the figure and a bunch of other things as well. So once I was satisfied that the basic composition was there, that all the elements that need to be in the picture are there, I went to ink and color, and this is what resulted. It hasn't been used yet. It has been posted on on Steve Rude's Instagram, but I'm very satisfied that I actually did this piece. I'm pleased with the way it came out for the most part. Certain things I will probably go and do over again if I was going to take another crack at this. But, I'm glad I did it. It was a good experience, and, hopefully they'll use it one day, but if they don't, that's okay too. And as some of you may know from watching my previous videos, I am the creator, artist, writer, and publisher of Wrestler Zero, which is a comic series I did 2 issues of. And it's a masked wrestler who fights weird menaces both in and out of the squared circle. And I had done 2 issues and frankly lost my confidence, lost my faith in both my abilities and in the viability of the material, and moved on to some other things. But in the back of my mind, I always knew I would come back to this, because when you're a writer, you have to be like a reporter in the sense of you go where the story is, not where you want it to take you necessarily. And while I do have lots of ideas for all kinds of different stories, I seem to have the most fleshed out, completely visualized stories when it comes to Wrestler Zero for some reason. And I think a lot of it is because of my love for lucha libre and Japanese pro wrestling, especially masked wrestlers of any sort. Black and white horror films, old school science fiction films, certainly the lucha libre, the masked wrestler films of El Santo, Blue Demon, Mil Máscaras, and others, as well as other comic books, including relatively recently a fantastic miniseries by Daniel Warren Johnson called Do a Power Bomb, which I also highly recommend as well. And that gave me the impetus to take another crack at this. And so this is sort of a warm-up piece I did, trying to get my feet wet, back in the ring, so to speak, and I'm working on some new material right now. Hopefully a short story before trying to jump into another full-length comic. So I will keep you guys posted on my progress with that. One thing I do want to talk about, two things actually, two separate things, but they're interrelated. One of them is, do what you love. If your love is sword and sorcery comics and you're an artist or a writer or both, then do that. It doesn't matter what the market is selling right now. It doesn't matter what's popular right now. It doesn't matter what's being made into movies or TV shows, because you're the one that has to sit there and produce this work. It's very time consuming. It's a labor intensive job. So love what it is that you are doing, because everything's been done, including the masked wrestler genre. But you know what? It hasn't been done by you, and it hasn't been done by me. So if you have some project that you're dying to get out into the world, get it out into the world, because no one's done it the way you're going to do it. And we all have influences. We all have inspirations. We all have people we look at, people we admire, heck, people we wish we could be like. But at the end of the day, all you have is yourself and your talent. So by all means, do look at other artists, look at movies, how scenes are staged, how compositions are created, how light is used, how color is used. Study all of that and learn what you can from your favorite artists and incorporate it into your own approach. I personally have been gravitating more towards referring to life, photo ref, trying to not worry so much about rendering and detail and putting in every little muscle, and just going for form, shape, lighting. I want to give the figures a sense of solidity. I want the eye to be able to take in what it's seeing at a glance. And a lot of very detailed, heavily rendered artwork that I'm a fan of. I mean, I do appreciate the craft and I admire it as much as the next person, but sometimes it can be very difficult for you to see what it is you're looking at. You have to kind of really stare at it. And if you're more on the storytelling side of things, you want to be able to draw in a way where the eye can can apprehend the image very easily. That's probably, you can hear my dog in the background there. The other thing I want to talk about is something a little bit more personal. A lot of times things happen, and I don't want to talk about specific people because the who is not as important as the what. Until about a year or two ago, I'll say about a year ago, I was taking some correspondence lessons with a really, famous artist, very well known, very highly regarded artist. And I was getting a lot of encouragement, a lot of positive feedback. I was also getting some very honest feedback about things I needed to work on, and I was being provided those things, examples of how to do it better. And I learned an awful lot. But I found out from another party that this individual was did not think I had what it took to be an artist, that I would never be an artist, that I would never learn or improve. And, to that I say, you or I don't need anyone's permission to be an artist, a writer, or whatever it is you want to do. If you're doing it, then you're an artist. If you're writing and you're publishing, even if you're not being paid, you're doing it on your social media, you're a writer. Same thing with being an artist. Don't wait around for someone even someone you respect and look up to give you their blessing or their benediction and to tell you that now you can go forth and be what it is that you're setting out to do. If that's what you want to do, then you go on and do it, because you only get one shot at life. You know, I learned an awful lot from this artist, you know, stuff I still use, and I do appreciate it. I mean, I did pay for it, but I do appreciate the time and, you know, passing down of the wisdom, and I think it has made improvement in my work. It has made a difference. But at the same time, it's kind of distressing. And, you know, I want to let you guys in on something. I'm not a kid. I'm actually in my 50s. My goal was to be a comic book artist from as far back as I can remember. I've been around comic books my whole life, from day one. I've never had a day in my life I didn't have comic books around me, that I wasn't reading a comic, that I wasn't studying a comic, that I haven't been drawing. And my goal was to be a penciler for Marvel or DC. There was some small self-publishing going on, ElfQuest and Cerebus and things like that, but by and large the action was in, you know, mainstream comics. Knowing what I know now about how the comic book business was run and how it continues to be run, it's probably better for me that I didn't achieve that goal. I would have liked to. I think it would have been great. But at the same time, maybe it wouldn't have been so great. I don't know. But I do know that it's a thrill to have my own characters, to publish my own comics, and to do something that belongs to me. And it reflects the things that I love. I'm in a position, I'm not doing this to make a living. I like to make money at it, of course, who wouldn't? But I'm not doing this for a living. I'm doing this out of love, and if there's money in it later on, that's fantastic, but that's not the reason I'm doing this. This truly is a labor of love. I have done some shows, I've done some conventions, it went well, the work seemed to be well received. I'm certainly very happy about that, and you know, I'm looking forward to what the future has to produce, what the future holds rather. And that's really about the size of it. So I know this went on a little bit longer than usual. I appreciate your time, I certainly appreciate your attention, and just remember one thing.